And good morning. You will need something to write with in a few minutes. I'll tell you that now. A phone number that could make a tremendous difference in your quality of life for the rest of your life, perhaps. This month, we've been spending some time each show focusing on children in this Child Abuse Prevention Month. April is also Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and you've heard that statistic at the top that 97% of rapists will never spend a day in jail. This continues to be a problem of major proportions. Every 2 minutes, someone in the United States is assaulted. More than 17,000 in Texas in 2012, more than 2,400 in Harris County. And along with that 97% never spending a day in jail is the stat that 60% of sexual assaults are never reported, perhaps because almost 40% of them are by a friend or acquaintance. Our guests this morning are very familiar with the statistics of sexual assault. Lauren Crater was just 15 when she was raped by a man who had recently met her while on a weekend tubing trip. She now spends much of her time as an advocate for sexual violence awareness and prevention. Rebecca White is the president and CEO of Houston Area Women's Center, an organization that wants women to know that you're not alone and that help is available. Thank you both for joining me this morning.
Thank you.
Lauren, tell me about that day. Is that something that's still very fresh to you, or have you put that behind you?
I don't think it's something that I'll ever put completely behind me. It's definitely something that shaped my life today. But it was something that it happened so quickly and the effects stayed for so long. I was with a friend for the weekend and we were going on a tubing trip, and the last thing I remember is this guy pouring beer all over my face, and then the next thing I remember after that is waking up choking, and he was raping me.
And I'm sure that in that time of your life, at 15 years old, that's something you never would think would ever happen. How difficult was it to get beyond the initial act to getting your life back together?
Well, I was lucky. I was in a situation when it happened that I couldn't hide what had happened, so I told someone immediately, and for me that was the best thing that could have happened. Because as soon as I told an adult, we went to the police that day. My parents were notified, my school was notified. I eventually got to the Women's Center and I found all of the people to help assure me that it wasn't my fault and that I was going to be okay again. I could put my life back together.
Rebecca, when someone like Lauren calls, what's the first thing that you do at the Women's Center when you get that call?
The first thing that we do, as you said, make sure they understand they're not alone and that it was not their fault. So often the response to a survivor of sexual assault is, well, what were you doing there? Why were you wearing that? You should have had a friend with you. You should have. We focus a lot on what the victim should be doing and not on preventing perpetrators from committing the crime in the first place.
And every case is different, I'm sure.
Yes.
So you have to have people there who are able to deal with any wide range of circumstances.
Absolutely. So we start by believing the caller, or someone who walks in the front door. We believe them, we listen to them, we start where they are and work forward.
Lauren, how soon was it after the assault that you reached out to the Women's Center?
For me, the first place we went was a private counselor, or private psychiatrist, and she was a great psychiatrist, I'm sure, but she wasn't specifically trained in dealing with sexual assault victims. And I just kind of went down a bad path there. Didn't really focus on the issue, and I don't think I had anyone really telling me that I wasn't alone. I didn't have anyone making me feel like I was walking through this with someone. And so after about 6 months, my mom called the hotline, and we got in to see a counselor at the Women's Center. And from there, I started seeing a counselor once a week, going to group therapy. My parents got support in a parent support group. And the second I walked in that door is when I finally felt at home. And like I wasn't okay yet, but I knew that I was going to be.
I'm guessing that based upon what she said, that's certainly what you would want every woman who calls to come away with that kind of experience.
Absolutely. And I hear that again and again from those who have been through our counseling sessions. We have some phenomenal counselors on our staff.
And that's what you do on the backside of an assault. What is the Women's Center doing now in terms of trying to change attitudes that maybe would prevent this sort of thing from happening in the first place?
We have primary prevention programs where we are working in middle schools and high schools and on college campuses, because that's when you start young, that's when you can have the most impact in changing those underlying attitudes and beliefs that foster the kinds of behaviors that lead to sexual assault.
When you have gone through this program now, you've become an advocate to speak out. What are the biggest points that you try to make when you talk to young women or just women in general about the kinds of things that they need to be aware of and what they should do in case something should happen?
The biggest thing for me is letting them know that they're not alone and that it's not their fault. It's when I've had many people through speaking come to me and tell me about their experience, and they always start with, you know, well, I was drinking. Well, I was wearing a bikini. Well, I was in many different excuses for why this happened. And my first thing to say is stop. It doesn't matter what you were doing. The number one thing is it wasn't your fault. And so that's the primary thing that I would tell someone.
Are you hopeful that attitudes can change so that the mindset of people who perpetuate these crimes will ultimately change when we start early enough? Are you hopeful about that?
I am extremely hopeful, and I would say just the progress that's been made since I went through my sexual assault now 12 years ago almost. The progress that's already been made is astounding. I feel when young women and men come forward now, there's a lot less victim blaming than there was at my age. And so I feel like we're already starting to see that progress, and it's something that I'd be thrilled to see in my lifetime, just to continue to grow gradually every day.
And I notice you say when men and women come forward. Your organization, while it is called the Houston Area Women's Center, you do not discriminate against those people who come to you for help.
Absolutely not. We know that 1 in 5 women in her lifetime in Texas and 1 in 20 men in their lifetime in Texas will be sexually assaulted. So we are there to serve everyone. We serve women, we serve men, we serve children.
Well, I want to make sure that I have information out there for our viewers this morning. The Houston Area Women's Center is available to help 24 hours a day,
Absolutely.
7 days a week. The number is 713-528-7273. That's 713-528-RAPE. The website address is www.hawc.org. And I know that you hope you don't have anything to do, but if somebody needs the help, you're going to be there to help them.
Absolutely. And it's important to know that if it happened 15 minutes ago or if it happened 15 years ago, we are there. And so many don't tell anyone, they don't disclose to anyone and think it's behind them, and then something will trigger. That's okay. Give us a call. We can still help. It's not too late.
Good. Whether it's last week or last year or beyond, you're ready to help.
Absolutely.
Rebecca White, thank you.
Thank you.
Lauren, thank you for being here. Congratulations on your recent marriage.
Thank you very much.
Big rock on her finger. So, congratulations. Thank you for coming in this morning. Very valuable information. Coming up, the Houston Police Department. They're on the front lines when it comes to arresting those who violate women and children. We'll talk to 2 of the officers who lead the way in Houston's SVU. That's next when Houston Newsmakers continues.